Welcome to Making Fun, number 4, the podcast that's good enough for who it's for. How you doing, Drew?
Doing good. How are you doing, Jeremy?
Fantastic. Did you hear that Chris Cornell died?
Yes, I did.
I'm pretty bummed about that.
Yes, I am too. A couple of the guys I work with we were all talking about it last night.
You got to stop yawning on this podcast, man. You're gonna put me to sleep.
I wasn't yawning. I was stretching.
Oh, okay.
The three of us are all rock fans, and we were talking about it last night. It was a big hit to people that really liked rock.
Yeah. I seen Dave Mustaine of Megadeth did a tribute the day of.
I didn't see that one. I'll have to look that up.
It sucks. I like Dave Mustaine and all, but he can't sing like Chris Cornell. Yeah. So then I went and watched a couple of recent Soundgarden videos. That might have been his last show that I seen recorded, but it was spot on. I just can't believe it. But anyway.
Last year we lost a lot, and this year we're trying to catch up, I guess.
I think it's just a matter of we're getting old.
That could be it, too.
Everybody we know is getting old and dying. I mean, he was only 52.
Aren't we such the chipper group this morning?
Well, we are going to talk about dealing with injuries today, so we should make light the best that we can. Okay, go ahead. What?
So, any videos that you've watched this week?
Videos?
Like...
I'm just messing.
Oh, come on, really?
Not a whole lot. I didn't take a whole lot of notes this time because I've been busy, which is good. But I did watch, I found an artist that works in wood. His name is David Knopp, Knopp, and he does, I think he mostly uses like plywood, and he sculpts it, and oddly enough, it looks like kind of like tree forms when he's done.
Huh.
I thought that was pretty interesting. I know I watched some more, but I didn't write down notes. I watched some kinetic sculpture videos, but I can't remember the artist, and I really wanted to talk about him, and I'm going to have to go find it for next time.
I gotta admit, I have not watched much of anything because of how busy I've been lately. We got to see each other last weekend.
Yep.
So,
lucky me.
Oh, you know it.
We didn't get to spend any time together this weekend, though.
No, we didn't. Well, it would have helped, but my wife had to work, and then we had no...
Oh, hold up. Sorry.
Okay.
See, that's what time I usually wake up. You were saying?
With my wife working, and then with me getting no sleep at all last weekend, I was tired, she was tired, and I'm sad that we didn't get to spend more time together.
Yeah.
If she didn't work, we would have just stuck around. But
yeah, you could have went with me over to our brother-in-law's house and had fun with that debacle of taking a ball joint off.
Yeah, but I had to fix the rest of that debacle.
He did get it to you?
He got it to me Monday, and he brought me the bearing.
It was a ball joint, or not a ball joint, wheel bearing replacement that seemed to be very stubborn.
Well, yes. Well, you want to tell your side first, then I'll tell my side?
Not really.
Oh, yes, you do.
Our brother-in-law has the worst luck when it comes to
Come to cars.
he was saying that he couldn't get this. He was taking the whole axle or the whole spindle assembly off, and he said that he couldn't get the Carter key out. And I understand that they get pretty stubborn sometimes, and I was like, "There's no way you're having that much trouble with a Carter key." But he had broken off both ends, so I said, "Okay, you should be able to just drive it out." And I've fought with Carter keys before, but I've never had one this stubborn. So we went over to his house, and I was like, "Wow, this thing is boogered up," because both ends were broken off and it was mashed down and stuff. And we tried a couple of nails to push it out and whatever, and everything was just bending over. It was tough. So he didn't have any punches, so I told him he probably should go get some punches, and we went to the auto store and got some punches and started driving that out. And I was the one driving it out because I thought it was going to be Mr. Big Shot. This ain't going to take 5 minutes. And started driving it out. I mean, it was tough. The punch was doing the job. And so I was hammering away, and I just got it to start going through. I was like, yeah, I've got this now. But then I realized that the punch was stuck in the hole where the Carter key used to be. Man, and we worked on that thing just to get the Carter key out. I bet 2 hours. We ended up trying to drive it out the other side with another Carter key, snapping vice grips on the punch and driving it out that way. So I finally got it. And I told him, I was like, "Man, I've never had this much trouble." He's like, "I'm cursed. I'm cursed."
Well, that is.
I started driving it out from the other end with another punch and finally got it to move. And I got that punch stuck also, but I didn't drive it as deep, so I was able to get it out. And finally, we were able to take the assembly loose and break the ball joint loose. It was a debacle. I've never in my life had that much trouble taking a Carter key out.
All right. So, Monday night, he gets it to me, and I take it to a press and press the outer race out, and then I start looking at it, and the hub had part of the inner race stuck to it.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, this isn't very good. I started looking at it really closely, and the inner race to the second half of the bearing, because the bearing actually has 2 sections together with one large outer race, the inner piece had broken off and destroyed the hub. So I was able to press the bearing into the spindle, but the hub itself, we had to order another hub, and I ordered it online instead of going to the parts store, because the parts store was $63.
Good grief.
Sorry, $69. That was the cheapest I could find, and I found it online for $20 with $8 2-day shipping. So for $30, got the part online, waited the 2 days, then put it back together, and then he showed up yesterday, which was Thursday, and last night he finally got it on.
He didn't have much patience with it either.
He took it initially. He took it to get somebody else to break the nut loose on the axle, because he couldn't get the axle nut broken loose. He didn't have a torch. They had to heat it up with a torch to get the axle nut loose.
Yeah. If he had as much trouble with that as he did that Carter key, I understand why, but it could just been his mojo,
It could have been.
You got to work through that stuff.
But it's now fixed. So even though we're miles apart, we got to work on the same project for once.
We collaborated.
And at different times, but yes, we collaborated. Anything else that you've worked on this last 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah. I want to make a disclaimer about our last podcast. I was listening to it, and I just want to say that Mom never called us stupid, because you said Mom called us stupid.
No, Mom never called us.
So I just wanted to make that disclaimer. What have I been working on? Well, I made my Mother's Day project, which was a wine balancer. What else have I done?
I don't know. What else have you done?
I don't know, man. Like I said, I took terrible notes this week.
Last week, I put a double gate in my backyard fence. It's a chain link fence. And I put which is a 10-foot gap gate. It's 2 independent swinging gates with a locking piece in the middle. I put that in last week so I could get my giant crate into my backyard that I'm going to take and turn into a building.
How big is your crate?
8 foot wide, 8 foot long, and 7 foot tall. It's a good size.
And you have your zoning figured out now, right? Because when I last talked to you, you hadn't even looked at your zoning laws.
Yes, it's good. As long as I'm not using it for a business, I'm good.
Well, that's good. How are you moving that?
What do you mean?
How heavy is it?
A couple 100 pounds.
You and the wife going to tote it out there?
It's already out there.
Oh, it is?
Yes. A buddy of mine from work has a trailer, and we put it up on his trailer and tied it down. And then because I had a gate that was large enough, we put it on the trailer with a forklift. And because I had a gate that was large enough now, he just backed it into my backyard and right next to where we were going to put it. So then all we had to do was slide it off the trailer.
You should have done it the way we used to unload the bush hog out of the back of the truck when we took it to Pawpaw's. Just tie it to a tree and take off with the truck.
No. I wanted to keep it.
I think extensive welding had to be done to the bush hog because of that.
Was that the one you ended up under?
No, that was way before. Yeah, that was when I was a kid. I was 7 or 8 years old when that happened. Well, we'll get to talk about that today.
Nice.
They're everybody's favorite story that they're tired of hearing.
Let's see. So
that's for your garden shed. I know I'm being spastic today.
That's my garden shed. Yeah, because you have no notes to go by. And then when I was at Mom's this past weekend, I borrowed her little electric tiller, and then I came home. Tuesday, I started tilling, and I put a 5 foot by 26 foot long flower bed in front of my house under the window that I had talked about. We have all kinds of flowers we put in it, roses and dragon snaps and everything. And then we also put ghost peppers in the flower bed to kind of give it a good green.
A nice spicy aroma.
Yeah, spicy aroma. And then we put, in the corner of my yard, I put in some jalapeno peppers plants. And then along my fence, I did bell peppers, and I did all of my spices, and then I did my tomato plants and cabbage plants and kale. I was going to do the buckets with some of the stuff, but I got sidetracked because I had the tiller.
That's what I was going to ask you. Last podcast we talked, and you said you were thinking about doing some inverted or vertical gardening. So you haven't done any of that yet?
No, I haven't done any of that yet. I was trying to get everything in the ground that we got because I didn't get any fertilizer to fix the soil that I already have. And then I thought about buying some potting soil while I was out at the different greenhouses, but we were running late, and because of weather this week, I was trying to get everything taken care of so that way I wasn't out working in mud and trying to get things in the ground.
Yeah, did it even rain at your house?
Yeah.
We only got a few sprinkles of rain.
Well, see, I've had like it rains hard in the morning, and then it was fine all day, and then it was supposed to rain this morning and hasn't done anything. So
yeah, I went out to the garden yesterday, which has absolutely nothing in it, and my seeds that I've planted haven't come up, so I'm starting to fail this year already. But I've had so many weeds pop up because I've already tilled it up this year, and I was out there, I was like, you know what, I'm not tilling this up again right now. So I have this sheeting that was on a roll, and I just rolled it out and threw some dirt on it to kill what was there until I plant.
yeah, I was well, I just tilled. I wanted to do 2 tills, but because of what the weather was looking like, I was having to speed up my plans, so I only tilled one day and then let it sit, and then the next day we planted.
So no Volkswagen stuff this week?
No, I haven't got a bit of working on Eva this week between the gardening and then work, and I actually have to go in early tonight and work 12 hours.
Yikes. And I called you and you weren't even ready for podcast today.
Well, that's because I was sidetracked thinking about that and trying to get stuff ready. Life happens sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
we're going into summer hours now, so I can record different days if we have to.
Well, we might have to. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
What you know what, your garden shed's a good. What's it good for? You turned an old shipping crate into a garage or a garden shed.
Yeah, that's my goal. I haven't got to it yet. I just have the crate. I want to get it up off the ground. I've got some old blocks that when I bought the house, someone decided to just put blocks on dirt and try to jack up a floor, which didn't work too well.
No footers at all, huh?
No footers at all. So when I pulled those out from underneath the house, I just kind of put them behind that or back by my fence, and I've used them to hold up like my wood for my firewood. So that way I don't have the firewood sitting directly on the ground rotting.
Yeah.
And it just that's just how it happened. So I'm going to use those to get the building up off the ground.
Did I ask you if you needed a door? I already asked you that, didn't I?
You said you had a regular man door, and I planned on making a larger door.
I could probably drudge up 2 of them.
No, I think I'm fine. I think I'm just going to try to do one 4-foot door. I think. I might do a double door. I'm not for sure yet. It just depends on where my funds come from and what I get into.
Do a revolving door.
Yeah, but that takes up so much room on the inside of the building.
But think of the majesty. It'd be hard to get a mower in and out of a revolving door, wouldn't it?
Well, I think that's going to actually end up being more storage, and I'm going to put a lean-to on the side of it for the mower and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, so you remember? Okay, to explain.
Well, we're
Growing
off
up,
on tangents today, aren't we?
hold on. This has to do with the building thing.
Okay.
So growing up, my father decided to take what was the covered porch on the front of the house off.
Yes.
And put it out back and turn it into a shed.
Yes.
With the tractor. It was a sight to be had. Well, he put a lean-to on the side of it.
No. Technically, he didn't put a lean-to on the side of it. He had lawnmower shipping crates. They were the metal type, and we clad that in something, and that's where we parked the riding mower.
Okay. So, thank you. I don't remember all of that. I was young.
Yeah.
I was what, 4 maybe?
Yeah.
So that's 26 years ago?
Yeah, I remember because I had to help build that debacle.
That's kind of why I was dragging it in. So I guess that kind of gives a background of where I'm coming from with my building.
Yeah.
I'm doing one better.
I'm going to share an interesting story with you.
Okay.
That little building was just, it was terribly hot when we put it out there. It was a pitched roof, and it probably was a 6 by, I'm going to say 10-foot building, roughly, do you think?
I don't know if it was 10 foot.
But it every time you would go in there and try to do something, in the summertime, you couldn't get anything done. It was just so hot. And so he had the idea of going and getting one of those whirligig vents and put on the top of it. So while we were out, we stopped at the convenience store, and he said, "You want anything to drink?" I said, "Yeah, I want a beer." So he buys me a beer. How old was I? Probably 14. So I didn't have a high alcohol tolerance then. We're out here working on this thing, and huh?
You have been older than 14.
Well,
because I can actually remember when that was on the front porch.
Maybe you're right. I wasn't very old. I was still in my teens. Oh no! Now this is telling me my storage is almost full.
No more Brottonism. Okay, move forward.
So I'm out here drinking this beer and helping him work on this whirligig, and I'm staggering around everywhere, and I step on the thing, and he is mad at me. He's like, "What you're doing?" And Mom comes out there and like, "Well, you're letting him drink a beer. What do you expect he's going to have?" So he had to spend hours trying to straighten out this whirligig. It's not a whirligig; it's a vent. I guess it.
Is that why it always would go? It was never exactly right.
Yes.
It tilted back and forth.
It forever had a big hump in it, and it looked like it was out of balance, which it was.
Oh, that's great. God, that's great.
I hope I don't run out of recording memory here. This stupid phone is telling me that I'm out of memory. Might have to stop. We probably should get on to our topic.
All right. Safety.
Well, dealing with injury.
Safety or dealing with injury?
Dealing with injury. It can be safety. We can wrap a whole bunch of things into this. The worst injury I ever sustained was when I was just a young farmhand, and I fell in love with a girl from the megalopolis. Nothing hurts worse than a broken heart.
Worst injury I ever sustained was when I lost about 40% of my right hand.
Yeah, that might hurt worse than a broken heart, I think. Those are scars you can see.
Oh, yes. That's debatable. A broken heart can last a lifetime.
Well, do you want to talk about that situation and how you deal with it?
The best I can. So took my field of view off of what I was working on for a split second because I heard something behind me, and my hand ended up in a fabrication roller. And this is a very large fabrication roller, and it crushed my pinky, the tips of both my ring and middle finger, and the tip of my pointer finger, and it exploded my palm. This was 3 weeks before my wedding, and I did not know that I was screaming until the one of the bosses actually said for me to pull my hand out of the machine. It was a bad night. They called for the ambulance. It's pouring down rain. I have to sit and watch a train go by as the ambulance is stuck on the other side of the tracks.
With your incredibly spontaneously exploding palm.
Yes. And the only thing I kept saying is make sure that Desiree, my wife now, knew this is, and funny enough, we are just past my 2-year anniversary from my accident.
Well, congratulations.
We're 4 days past. So the funny part is that everything worked out to episode 4 being right at my 2-year anniversary. So this has been, a lot of this stuff has been fresh in my mind here lately. And
well, you're doing better than Chris Cornell.
Well, that's true. Bad taste.
Sorry.
So I get to the hospital and they've got me on pain medicines at this point, and I can actually remember looking at one of the nurses and asking if they have stores for people that are missing fingers or if I got to make my own gloves now. They're rolling me into surgery, and I made the comment of, I'm going to be the next Luke Skywalker. And I get into surgery, and then I pass out, and I wake up. So the next day, I'm off the pain medicine, the heavy pain medicine, and they've got me on other stuff, and it starts to hit me. What am I going to do? So I talked to family, and I talked to everybody, and it was rough. But the only thing I kept thinking about is that I had to make sure that the wedding would move forward, that I was still going to be able to marry the woman I loved. And that right there taught me a lot. That moving forward to make sure that I could still have my life, it was hard. I mean, it was extremely hard.
I can hear it in your voice that it's still hard for you.
Well, a lot of this is thinking back on how that whole situation, I mean, the emotional trauma that I went through was extreme for me. And the only thing that I kept thinking about, and I kept telling Desiree, was that we had to move forward. We had to make sure the wedding went on. We canceled our honeymoon, but we were doing the wedding. And that was to help push me forward to make sure that I was still going to be able to do everything I could.
So when it first happened, your initial response was to deal with it with humor, to try to make light of it because it was such a horrible instance, right? Like when you're in a hospital and you're Luke Skywalker, That's you trying to deal with that humorously.
Well, yes, I was trying to do what I've done a lot in my life, and you do it too. I mean,
Yes.
we as family we do it. We pawn stuff off and make light, humorous things to make it easier for us to deal with it.
But we understand the seriousness of it. It's not that we're totally disregarding it.
Right.
It just helps us get through by making fun of what's going on.
Um, and well, I still do humor joke on it. You know, I'm not the same person I used to be, or someone come give me a hand because I'm short-handed, or someone hand me a pair of gloves and I go, those won't work for me, or just all kinds of stuff. You know, I still make light of it.
My favorite one that you do is, grab my good hand.
Take my strong hand. I make all kinds of jokes with it. I really do. And it helps. It helps me. Making fun and making light of it helps me accept it.
Right.
Some people don't understand that. I actually had a person that I work with get offended because I made fun of my own injury.
They got offended for you?
I guess. I mean, it's me dealing with it the way that I like to. And for some people, it might not work that way, but it works for me. And when I was in therapy, and I had to go through a year of therapy, well, take that back, not a year. I went through 10 months of therapy. I was off I was day short of 11 months, and I had 10 months of therapy, and I was going to therapy 2 to 3 times a week. And there was a push. I wanted to see exactly how much I could get back. I wanted to see how far I could push myself. I wanted to see what I could do.
Initially, they didn't think that you were going to have any strength in that hand, didn't they?
Yeah, that's what they told me. Because of losing my pinky and the tips of my other fingers, they figured that I would be at 50% or less on my strength. I had a very nice group of therapists that helped. Jen and Becky and Julie was the one that I worked with the most, and they helped me tremendously.
So therapy really a big part of this.
Yes. Therapy, I will say this. You can go to therapy. Anybody can go to therapy. Therapy was half of it. I was the other half. And even talking with my therapist, you know, there was people that come in to therapy and they would talk about how hard of a trouble they were having because, you know, they had a broken bone in the center of their hand, or they had a tendon that had drawn up and they had to get cut and stretched out. And there was another guy that I was in there with that lost part of a finger. And these people had, you know, were having these difficulties dealing with their situation and dealing with it. And I would go into therapy and I would laugh and cut up and joke with everybody, and I would push myself because I wanted to see what was going to happen in the end. I knew that if I worked now, I would do better in the end. And people in therapy did better because they seen me pushing myself. There was one lady that looked at me and she goes, all I did was break my pinky. I'm over here crying because I broke my pinky, and you don't even have one. And I said, yeah. I said, but I'm going to try. And they said that after talking to me, her whole world changed. She did 1,000% better after talking to me.
All right, yeah, she got to see how bad it could be.
There were people that were worse than me, people that severed all the nerves in their arm and barely had use of their hand.
Right.
And, you know, I wasn't the worst. I was a bad situation. But I wanted to try to be me. I like working on stuff. And I've gone back and talked to my therapist, and she thought it was strange that I wanted to go back into doing the same things that I did before. You know, she thought it was good, but a lot of people are really scared after a large injury. And my big thing was I wanted to move forward. I wanted to be me. Nothing had really changed. I was just had to learn how to do things again. Brushing my teeth was the hardest thing initially. I couldn't hold a toothbrush.
Everyday things that you wanted to do were difficult now. You're talking
Right.
about, you know, us as people that make things and do things with our hands every day. That's a big part of our lives. It's not like we sit in an office and punch keys all day long. We have to
Right.
be mobile, and when you take that away from you, it kind of takes something very personal from you. It's
Yeah.
part of who you are.
No offense, but it almost felt like I lost a finger.
Hey, brother, you did lose a finger and some tips of the fingers.
But yeah, I didn't want to lose another part of me. That was my thing. They never doubted me that I could do everything that I wanted to do.
Well, you think you have the thought that, well, I'll never be able to do those things again. So what do I do? And especially since you're starting a family, you think, how am I going to take care of my family and things of that nature? It just keeps going on and on from where
Oh
you
yeah,
are.
thanks for outing me there. By the way, there's an announcement. My wife and I are pregnant, and I will be a father
I
soon.
wasn't. Did I out you? I meant that you were getting married, but congratulations. You just wanted to tell everybody.
Yeah, I wanted to tell everybody this week,
Well,
since I'm allowed to now.
congratulations. Yeah, I know I've been sitting on that forever. Don't tell
Well,
nobody. I was like, you're telling the wrong person if you don't want something told, because I don't keep secrets and I don't lie.
you did better than Mom. Mom said it during her Easter dinner.
That's where I get it from. Well,
But
congratulations. Looking forward to being uncle again.
it was again. It was a good bit of information that we found out, and we're very excited. I'm tickled pink. So's my wife. So, oh, Killian, your son his reaction was the best by far so far.
Yeah, you told us not to tell anybody, even the kids. And so when he came to us, I said, no, not that I'm aware of. And he
We
was
were trying to
he was
tell.
convinced that you were messing with him.
Yes, he was. And you and your wife both told him that you were not, or that we were not. So he
I
didn't
said,
believe
Drew's
us.
unable to have children. Nasty cheese grating accident as a child.
But anyhow, back to the subject. Using a knife was hard. Doing everyday things were hard in the beginning. But pushing myself and then pushing myself in therapy with my therapist helping me, you know, can you do this? Can you do this? Asking me if I can do everyday things. To work on my motor skills while I was off, I started painting again. I painted my whole Nightmare Before Christmas setup that I've done, and I painted a bunch of paintings for different things. I even painted a painting for my therapist office because of how grateful I was for them helping me.
Yep.
And because I started painting, I was like, well, if I can paint, then I can draw. So I started drawing. And if I can draw, I can do other things. And I pushed myself and got back into, it was like going through kindergarten and first grade and second and third and fourth and learning how to reuse my hand all over again. And that's exactly what happened. I don't do things exactly the way I did before. Like, a lot of the stuff that I kept in my right hand pockets moved to my left hand pockets, because where my pinky was, there's now a ledge and it gets caught in my pocket.
Oh, yeah.
But that's, that was one thing that I was able to change. I still use a screwdriver with my right hand. I still use pliers with my right hand. Now, if it's a large grip, I have to use my left hand. But I try to do everything that I can with my right hand, because I'm right-handed.
Right.
So
And
it has helped out.
going back to what you were saying about painting, that's some of your best work as far as painting and drawing goes. You were really passionate then, and that really shows in your paintings. You put everything into those paintings.
It's all I had.
Right.
I had so much emotion and so much going on that I had to release it somehow. And my therapist did get on to me because she found out that I did one of them in one setting. And she's like, you should probably take a break during them. So I tried to break it up more as I went along with them. And
that's a good point right there. When you're dealing with that kind of injury, sometimes you have to push yourself, but sometimes you have to know when to quit too. And
right.
that might be a good tip to prevent injury. It's okay to be strong and be able
to fatigue.
Yeah, because that's half of my problem all my life. Is I've always been strong, but I'm also broken too, and I'd always push myself till I couldn't go anymore, and then it's disabled me to a certain extent.
Sometimes even taking a 5-minute break will keep you from hurting yourself and make it take half the time that it would have if you would have just kept pushing.
Right.
I'm not the same person I was before my injury. It changed me emotionally and physically. But I don't think I'm a worse person for it.
I think you're a better person. You've matured a lot since then.
Well, I agree, and that's one point it showed me a lot of things that I used to take for granted. Family, time with family, and things that I definitely have a closer attachment to my family now, and have pushed to make sure that I see family more now than what I did prior to. Because prior to, it was work, 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 do what I have to do to work, work, work. And now I know that I need to stop and spend time with the people I love, because that's what really matters to me.
Indeed.
I still take care of with what I need to, but sometimes your hand's forced.
Through a roller?
Through a roller.
Is that too soon?
No, it's not.
When that happened, and I was told what happened to you, my initial thought, the only way I dealt with it, because it concerned me, I felt for you dealing with that, but my initial reaction was, well, at least he's alive,
Yes.
because I have experienced people having accidents and losing their life in my life, and that's the worst case scenario, is you losing your life. Like, well, he can rehabilitate from here. It's terrible that it happened, but I'm glad he's alive, because I couldn't live without him.
Also, my relationship with my now wife, we got married. She had to deal with someone that was off of work, dealing with a very traumatized situation, and it was extremely hard for her. There was some rough times for us, but
Sure.
we are stronger than I've ever been in any relationship because of that. She stuck with me thick and thin through all of it, and it wasn't easy. The doctor's appointments and the second surgeries and everything else that came along with it. And she pushed me to be me. And I love her even more for it.
And that's kind of the theme, isn't it? If you make it through and you keep going forward, no matter what the situation or the relationship or whatever, you're a better person at the other side of it because you survived it and you learned a lot from it.
That's true. But that's life. Life does send you curveballs time and time and time again. Mine just so happened to be a year-long trip before I was able to return back to a normal everyday schedule that I was used to. And
so it's pretty normal now, right?
For me, yes.
Are there any more hurdles that you have to get across now, or is it pretty, like you said, you switch things in your pocket, or are there new things popping up because of your injury, or is it pretty much worked out?
Okay. If anybody ever has any trauma, really bad trauma, there's a few things that you end up with. There's the ghost feelings, like you have an itch on the back of an appendage that you have no more. That one drives you nuts. There's the itches, and you think it's in one place, but your nerves aren't exactly where they used to be. So you have to figure out where the itch is, or the tight pain, or whatever it is. Those always happen. Like I still have those feelings. Like it'll be an itch, but I can't scratch it because it's not where it was. I still have problems with change, like because I don't have the pinky on the bottom side of my hand.
Oh yeah.
I have a problem with change. I drop change all the time, or like nuts and bolts.
Because they just fall off the back of your palm, right?
Right, because I don't have my pinky there to hold it. And here's one for you. Growing up, my dad always wore gray pocket t-shirts. Well, now I wear gray pocket t-shirts because I can't keep things in my hand like I used to be able to,
Yeah.
like nuts and bolts. I can stick them in my pocket, and as I'm working, they're close at hand, and I can still get to them.
The pocket t-shirt, a useful tool.
It is a very useful tool.
My kids call them old men t-shirts.
Well, people can call me old man. But I use them for that reason now. As far as other hurdles, I mean, everything that is a hurdle, I try to find a way around it. No matter what it is.
Well, that's what I was saying. How many new things do you have coming up? I mean, those are things that you've recognized, but like, have you had something this week?
Not that I can think of. I mean, like, I still do. I mean, I cut the section of fence out and put in the gate, and I do my tilling, and I mow my yard. I push mow my yard. I work with my hands daily. Screwdriver, strippers, wire strippers, channel locks, everything. I use all the tools that I've used before, and I can't say that in the last 3 months that I can remember of anything that, was something that just sticks out of my mind of that I couldn't do or something that I had to change.
And there probably will be, but for the most part, you've got your systems down again. You're wearing your pocket T-shirt. You're switching things in your pocket. You know not to count change in that hand.
Right. Oh, I know not to count change in that hand, but it still happens from time to time.
Yeah, you've been counting change in your right hand for years and years. I haven't talked about my injury yet. That's the difference between you and me. I was injured when I was a kid. And so,
right.
Other than being stubborn and working through, harder than I should and making it worse, I've pretty much dealt with it all my life. I haven't said it, but you talked about the bush hog. I was ran over by a bush hog and tractor when I was a kid, and I didn't even go to the hospital. And years later, it turned out I messed up my back. And, as a kid, you don't realize what kind of pain you're in sometimes, and I've dealt with pain all my life.
Right.
And so sometimes it might seem like I'm lazy, but for the most part, I'm just always dealing with pain.
I understand that point. Do you remember the car wreck I was in when I was 18? I had that Chevy Lumina.
Yeah.
I smacked my right knee into the dash in that car wreck and thought nothing of it, adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
Didn't realize what was going on. And I was 18 when it happened. When I turned 21, I had the cartilage in my knee removed because it was in so many pieces.
I thought that was from skateboarding.
No, the skateboarding's the big scar on my elbow.
But doing the tricks and stuff didn't help it because you had that accident and you kept skating, is what I'm saying.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, well, that's just it. I kept doing everything that I had done, not knowing. I just thought that, I'd get better. I'd get better.
I still think that. I'll get better. But the fact of the matter is, when you have injuries like that, you just have good days and bad days. And you have to make amends for those bad days.
Oh, when the barometric pressure is high, I can feel it in my hand all day long.
I'm sure.
And it feels like someone has grabbed my hand and put it in a vice. When I was a kid and the old people used to talk about, oh, my knee hurts, it's getting ready to rain. I thought it was a joke.
Yeah, I did too. And you have to prepare for that. You have to prepare for those days. And like one thing that I do now that I didn't do before, especially since I can feel that more, like you said with the barometric pressure, is that you have to, well, in my case, I have to stretch. I have to walk and stretch and make myself healthier than I think that I should be so that I can deal with it when it comes. And if I'm looser,
it doesn't hurt as much.
It doesn't hurt as much, and I'm able to come. Because there's some days that I can't walk. I mean, I can do it, but it hurts. But if I walk every day, it strengthens those muscles, and it, like I said, it takes the stiffness out of it if you can stretch it out. And that's something that I learned because later on after my injury, like, probably 15, 20 years later, I went to the doctor because I was having so much trouble. And he said, well, we'll get you into surgery and get you fixed right up. And I said, okay, how much is that going to cost? Because I don't have any insurance. And then he says, oh, well, we'll get you in physical therapy and we'll get you fixed right up. And, my thought there was, so I don't have to have surgery. You're just going to send me to surgery. but you can fix me with physical therapy. I was mad that he did that, you know. You're saying I need surgery, but I can't have surgery because I don't have any money.
Well,
And then I learned from that, you know, quite stubbornly years later that I could do that physical therapy and I can do exercises and stretching to help me cope with that and not go through surgery. I probably should be in surgery now, but I have a because of that incident, I have a bad I don't like doctors.
well, I can say that, I had the exact same doctor all the way through dealing with my injury. And we had the initial surgery, and I got to see Dr. Farner for weeks. Every couple weeks I got to see him, and then it moved to just once a month while I was going through therapy. And then I had some healing issues because of my palm, and we had to go back in and release my thumb because my thumb had been pulled towards the inside of my hand.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And I had a very good repertoire with my doctor. Him and I talked, and we talked like you and I talk. So when I said something, he listened, and he was very blunt with talking to me, and I liked that. Some people, they want to be coddled, but I really didn't want it. And I'm very glad that he was very straightforward with me. He's like, so this is what's going on. What can we do to make it better? And, I went through a couple different braces, and, they actually had to use a chemical cauterization on my palm as it healed up. And I had a wound in the center of my hand it healed up. I had my injury in May. It healed up right at the end of October. November 12th, I had my second surgery, and it healed up maybe 2 weeks before I went back to work. So in the whole time that I was off work, I had like 2 weeks without a hole in the center of my hand.
I remember that was gross.
It was very gross, but it was good having a doctor and he didn't want to push me to anything. He's like, what can you work with? What can you do? Because there was no going back to being exactly the same. It
Right.
was, what can we do to make your life manageable?
That's what I was going to allude to. The doctor that I had recently, when she's gone now, and I'm sad about it because we had that repertoire, and is that the right word, repertoire? We had a good talking relationship. We were communicating about my injuries, and her advice to me was, if you're dealing with it every day and you're getting everything done, your body has a natural inclination to heal itself. And you're never the same after an injury. So surgery isn't always the best option. Now, for alleviating pain, she says if you get to the point where you're having pain every day of your life and you can't walk at all, then you should get surgery. You there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
And so, that fell in line with my beliefs. I'm still going, but I don't do everything that I used to do. And my wife takes care of me mostly financially, but I do a lot of other things that she was doing before I quit working a regular job. I do all the running around and taking care of the house, and I make money on my own. But some
Right.
days I have to sit down and stretch and wait to go pick up the kids or something.
I will say that the stretching regimen that my therapist gave me 2 years ago, I still use it. If I feel like my hand's tightening up because maybe I've been using it too much or something, I'll I'll stop and I'll stretch. I stretch at work. I stretch at home, and I have to continue to stretch.
Right. That's part of it.
I have nothing but a ball of scar tissue in my palm.
And that's very true in any situation that you're injured. You know, some of those days that I can't get up and walk, I have to make myself get up and walk. I have to make myself get up and stretch, because a lot of it is just that stiffness that is, you know,
needs
needs to be worked out. And if I don't, it's going to get worse, because if I'm just sitting on a couch or sitting and standing actually hurt me worse. I have to be moving or laying flat to not be in pain a lot of the times. But if I keep moving, then the next day I'm better. And not being
I will say, as long as I keep moving, I do better. If I stop, like if you take 3 days where I don't do anything, just 3 lazy days back to back, maybe it's pouring down rain and I've got to work a lot and all I've got is work going on and I don't want to be at home doing stuff. But if I stop for long periods of time, 3-day weekend or something, and I don't do anything, it is hard to get moving again. And because of going through those, I try to push myself more, to get up and use my hand just because it needs to be used some to be stretched out.
Yeah, because you're only going to get older, and your body's only going to keep stopping working so much.
Right.
Well, this was a morose subject, but I hope someone gets something out of it. I know there's a lot of people that suffer with injuries every day, and it's just part of life. You get hurt, and unfortunately, some people get hurt worse than others. But there's still hope.
And sometimes you're just left shorthanded.
I think about anytime I see somebody getting flipped off, I think about you flipping people off with your little bitty middle nub. Like, is that even the right finger anymore?
Technically, I do not have a middle finger on my right hand anymore. I still do. I've changed my hang loose and the devil horns. I've changed how I do those. They still work for me, so everybody gets what it means. So
well, I love the reaction you get when you get the devil horns when we're at a concert or something, and people you'd throw up the devil horns, and somebody just looks.
And that's when I tell them that I don't rock as hard as you.
You don't rock as hard as you used to. Oh, well, I guess we got to keep laughing about it and making fun. That's what we're about here.
All about. It's good enough for who it's for.
Right.
So, yeah, the devil horns is awesome.
Well, I think we've covered everything, and we're past an hour now, so I probably should cut it short here. Well, it's not cutting it short. No offense. So I guess. Go ahead.
That's episode 4 of Making Fun. Because it's good enough for who it's for.
Indeed. Peace out, Girl Scouts.